Imagine yourself here. It's 120 AD. The city of Rome is at the height of its power, the heart of an empire that stretches from the windswept moors of Britain to the sun-baked sands of Egypt. The streets are alive with the sounds of merchants, soldiers, and citizens, all moving with purpose beneath the shadow of monumental architecture. You stand in the heart of Rome, inside the Colosseum, the grandest amphitheater the world has ever seen. Its towering walls and sweeping arches dwarf the crowds that pour in from every corner of the city. The sun blazes over 50,000 spectators, their roar shaking the stone beneath your feet. The energy is electric, a living pulse that binds the crowd together in anticipation and excitement. Senators in white togas sit closest to the action, their status marked by proximity. Equestrians and wealthy merchants fill the next tiers, while plebeians, the backbone of Rome, are seated higher still. At the very top, under the Valerium's shade, the poor and non-citizens watch, a reminder of Rome's rigid social order. The air is thick with sweat, dust, and perfume, a microcosm of the empire itself. Vendors weave through the aisles selling honeyed wine and roasted nuts, while the mingled sense of humanity and anticipation fill the space. On the arena floor, gladiators, some slaves, others volunteers seeking fame, move with deadly grace. Their armor flashes in the sun, each movement a blend of artistry and violence, as they fight for survival and the fleeting favor of the crowd. Every clash draws gasps and cheers. This is more than entertainment, it's a ritual of Roman values. Here, courage and discipline are put to the ultimate test, and the spectacle reinforces the state's absolute authority over life and death. The emperor, seated in regal splendor, and the crowd together decide the fate of the fallen. A simple gesture, a thumb turned up or down, can mean mercy or doom, a reminder of the power wielded by Rome's rulers and its people. Wild animals from distant provinces, mock naval battles that flood the arena, and feats of engineering that astound even the most jaded citizens, all unfold here. The Colosseum is a marvel not just of architecture, but of imagination and ambition. The Colosseum stands as a testament to Rome's power, organization, and relentless ambition. Its very stones echo the might of an empire that commands respect and awe across continents. Beyond the arena, the city runs on logistics, feeding, housing, and controlling over 1 million people. Aqueducts bring fresh water, markets overflow with goods from every corner of the empire, and the streets are a constant flow of life and commerce. From this vantage, Rome feels eternal, its influence radiating for thousands of miles. The city is a beacon of civilization, its reach and culture shaping the world for centuries to come. The spectacle is overwhelming, a civilization at its zenith. The sheer scale and grandeur leave you breathless, a witness to the heights humanity can achieve. Yet beneath the glory, cracks are beginning to form. The stones show signs of wear, and the city's vastness hides growing tensions and challenges that threaten its stability. Rome's grandeur seems unbreakable, but nothing lasts forever. As the sun sets over the ancient stones, you sense both the weight of history and the fragility of even the greatest empires. Rome's greatness was forged over centuries of conquest, innovation, and relentless ambition. From humble beginnings as a small settlement on the banks of the Tiber River, Rome grew into a force that would shape the destiny of continents. Its rise was not accidental but the result of vision, discipline, and a willingness to adapt and learn from others. Picture a map stretching from the misty hills of Britain to the sun-baked sands of Mesopotamia, all Roman. The empire's reach was so vast that it spanned 3 continents, uniting a patchwork of cultures, languages, and peoples under a single banner. This was the Pax Romana, a time of relative peace and stability. One emperor, one law, one culture, and tens of millions of people bound together by a shared identity. The streets bustled with merchants, philosophers, and citizens from every corner of the empire, all living under the watchful eye of Rome. But how did they hold such a sprawling realm together? The answer lay beneath their feet. Roads. 400,000 kilometers of expertly built roads crisscrossed the empire, connecting distant provinces to the heart of Rome. These roads moved armies swiftly to troubled frontiers, carried goods from far-off lands, and allowed ideas to flow freely, knitting the empire together with unprecedented speed and efficiency. But roads alone could not sustain a civilization of this scale. Rome needed water, clean, reliable, and abundant. Aqueducts, some stretching over 90 kilometers, brought fresh water from distant mountains into the heart of Roman cities. This water filled public baths, fed fountains, and supplied homes, transforming urban life and supporting a population that no other ancient city could match. This mastery over nature was a daily reminder of Roman ingenuity and determination. Their engineering achievements were not just practical, they were symbols of Rome's power and promise. Military might, legal order and engineering brilliance made Rome a true powerhouse. The legions, disciplined and relentless, were unmatched on the battlefield, securing Rome's borders and expanding its influence. Roman law, carefully crafted and rigorously enforced, shaped the world for centuries to come, laying the foundation for modern legal systems. And Latin, the language of Rome, became the root of modern languages, echoing through time in words we still use today. For a time it seemed Rome had built a perfect, lasting system, an empire that would endure forever, its cities alive with culture, commerce, and innovation. Order replaced chaos, and Rome grew unimaginably rich. Gold, art, and knowledge flowed into the city, and its people enjoyed luxuries unknown to the rest of the world. It was a golden age, a time when the world looked to Rome as the center of civilization, a beacon of progress and prosperity. But even the brightest gold can tarnish. Beneath the surface, cracks began to form, threatening the stability Rome had worked so hard to build. Beneath the surface, trouble was brewing. Political intrigue, economic strain, and growing unrest began to erode the foundations of the empire. The seeds of decline had already been sown, hidden among the very stones that once built a civilization meant to last forever. As the Colosseum roared, a sickness crept into Rome's heart. Wealth pooled at the top. Senators and landowners lived in luxury, while most Romans struggled. Small farms vanished, replaced by vast estates worked by slaves. Displaced farmers crowded into squalid city blocks. The state handed out free grain and entertainment to keep the poor quiet. The gap between rich and poor grew into a chasm, eroding civic unity. The elite saw the masses as a threat. The poor saw the elite as greedy. Shared purpose faded, replaced by division and resentment. Rome's greatest enemy was no longer outside, it was within. Political integrity collapsed alongside social unity. The Senate became a den of corruption. Offices were bought and sold. Governors exploited provinces, fueling resentment and instability. Emperors became tyrants or puppets, and succession turned violent. The legions, once Rome's backbone, filled with mercenaries loyal to generals, not Rome. Armies fought each other for power, draining resources and weakening borders. The military, meant to protect Rome, now tore it apart from within. The empire's foundation was crumbling fast. As Rome weakened, the world beyond its borders changed. Barbarian tribes learned Roman tactics, weapons, and organization. The Huns' westward push triggered mass migrations, Goths, Vandals, Franks, pressing on Rome's frontiers. Rome's inconsistent responses, war, bribes, and settling barbarians inside the empire backfired. Mistreatment of these new settlers turned them into hostile forces within Rome's borders. The line between Roman and barbarian blurred. The threat was now inside. The empire faced a storm it could no longer contain. The gates had been breached. Rome's economy faltered as conquest ended and expenses soared. No new wealth flowed in, but the costs of armies, grain doles, and elite lifestyles kept rising. Gold and silver drained eastward for luxury imports, creating a trade deficit. To cope, emperors debased the currency, sparking runaway inflation. Prices soared, savings vanished, and trade collapsed. Food shortages and famine became common as distribution broke down. Crushing taxes drove farmers and the middle class into poverty or flight. The intricate economy of the Pax Romana unraveled. For ordinary Romans, life became a daily struggle for survival. The empire's financial engine was in a death spiral. Internal decay and external threats collided in disaster. The Roman Empire, once the master of the Mediterranean world, was now beset on all sides. Corruption, civil war, and economic collapse weakened its core, while enemies pressed relentlessly at its borders. In 378 AD, the Visigoths annihilated a Roman army at Adrianople, killing the emperor. This catastrophic defeat sent shockwaves through the empire, exposing its vulnerability to all. The myth of Roman invincibility shattered, invasions intensified. Waves of Germanic tribes, Huns and others surged across the frontiers, overwhelming the once mighty legions. In 410, the Visigoths sacked Rome itself, the first time in 800 years. The city that had ruled the world now lay open to plunder, its people stunned and terrified. The psychological blow was immense, The eternal city had fallen. For Romans and the wider world, it seemed as if civilization itself was collapsing. Provinces were lost, Britain abandoned, Gaul and Spain overrun. Once vibrant cities faded into silence, and Roman roads disappeared beneath wild forests. In 455, the Vandals sacked Rome again, stripping it of its treasures. The city's wealth, art, and sacred relics were carried away, never to return. The Western Empire shrank to a hollow shell, its rulers powerless. Emperors became puppets, their authority ignored by both citizens and soldiers. In 476, the last emperor was deposed by a barbarian general. The centuries-old line of Roman rulers came to an unceremonious end. The imperial insignia was sent east, the Western Roman Empire was no more. Power shifted to Constantinople, leaving the West in ruins and chaos. There was no final battle, no heroic last stand. The end came quietly, as the structures of empire simply faded away. The empire ended not with a bang but a whimper, its glory dissolved into memory, its monuments left to crumble in the gathering dusk. Rome's long twilight had become night, the world it shaped would never be the same again. 476 AD marks the end of the Western Empire, but not of Rome itself. In the East, the Byzantine Empire thrived for another 1,000 years, preserving Roman law, Greek culture, and Christian faith. The Byzantines saw themselves as Romans, their capital as the New Rome. They safeguarded classical knowledge and built wonders like Hagia Sophia. Even in the West, Rome's legacy endured. New rulers adopted Roman titles and laws, the Catholic Church preserved Latin and Roman administration. Roman ideas shaped Europe's future: law, language, architecture, and government. The spirit of Rome haunted the continent, woven into modern life. Rome's story didn't end, it transformed, flowing through history. Its influence still shapes our world today. Our journey ends where it began, in the shadow of Rome's ruins. Rome's rise and fall is a cautionary tale for every superpower. Economic inequality, political corruption, spectacle over substance, and internal division, these were Rome's undoing. Our world, too, faces immense challenges: inequality, polarization, eroding trust, and existential threats. Rome's collapse was not inevitable, it was a cascade of failures. Leadership, civic virtue, foresight. The question is, can we recognize the warning signs in our own time? Will we learn from Rome, or become a cautionary tale ourselves? The choice for now is still ours.